Well, welcome to another edition of I Am AAPC. Today we have Rita Aulbach-Emira with us. Rita, how are you today?
Hey everybody. I'm good. How are you guys? How are you guys?
We're excited to have you on and learn about your story in the business of healthcare. Rita, why don't you just kind of give us a little introduction of who you are, maybe where you live, and how you got into the business of healthcare.
Right. So my name's Rita, and right now I'm living in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I have a lot of hats, so I'm obviously in the coding industry. I have a day job as an auditor with a big firm, and after hours, I do a lot of things. I'm an educator. I'm also a provider, holistic healthcare, so that's something I'm really passionate about. And I do have a lot of kids. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. Yeah, I have 3 daughters. They're all the same age, and a son, he's almost 3. The daughters are 7.
Wow. Now, do you work from home?
I do. I'm sitting in my office right now, hence the nice little background. As we know, most coders are messy. We're disorganized, but there's a method to it, right?
Now, you're always investigating code, so you got your books and papers scattered everywhere.
Right. It looks like some kind of mad scientist laboratory in here, or a NASA command, so many monitors.
Well, Rita, tell us a little bit about how long have you been in this field?
So I want to say like 7 years, give or take. I've always been interested in healthcare, but I was in a veterinary originally. So the little science background was there. I lived in Egypt and I got involved with some healthcare over there, which sparked an interest for kind of like documentation. And then when I got back over here, I learned about, I could go to school for medical coding. So I did. I got a diploma and then I got a degree. And then I started getting certifications. And I just went from there. So first I got my CPC, like most people do. And I also got a CCA from another organization. And then I just kind of racked up the AAPC ones there for a little bit. A lot of that had to do with COVID, a lot of time on everybody's hands, and Black Friday sales that you guys used to do. But yeah, that's
Well,
kind
awesome.
of, all of it wrapped up into a little ball. And my original intention with that is I planned on going into nursing school, but I had to raise kids, so I didn't have time to go to college, ground college anyway. And so then I got diagnosed with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. And it's kind of hard to like do clinicals and whatever. So that kind of got put on the back burner. And so that's kind of where the coding side of it blew up. I have a real passion for the whole, I don't know, just the science behind everything. I like to nitpick everything apart. So I put that on the back burner. So I did coding, and then I was like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna find another way to get into taking care of patients. So I got a couple of diplomas with that and certifications with that too. So it's awesome. And then I went and got my bachelor's, and I ended up getting that because I enrolled in a program for clinical medical assisting, and I couldn't finish that last class for the clinical. So I was like, you know what? I did this. I'm going to transfer my credits and go into health admin. I'm already in that. And I'm like, woohoo, I'm glad I did it, because all of that healthcare law stuff and regulations, compliance, it's so amazing. And it's interesting when you really dig deep into it.
Tell us a little bit about like when you first started studying for the CPC exam. Did you feel overwhelmed, or did it feel like a natural fit for you?
I didn't feel overwhelmed, and I think a large reason for that is because I did the whole college route. It's very slow and is self-paced, and they break it down by book, by section. They teach you the anatomy, all of the stuff that you need to know to navigate those books properly. They even do the mock exams. However, when it came to the more complicated exams, that's some major stuff. Like, you really need to know a specialty if you're going to test for it. Specifically, like we're here talking about the CRHC, you would want to have some experience or some knowledge base in rheumatology and those conditions to be able to sit for an exam like that. Yeah. Largely because if you're not familiar with the conditions related to a specialty, it's hard to find the right code for them.
Well, before we dig into the CRHC, the Certified Rheumatology Coder certification, like I'm looking at your background, and you have all of these, you have many certifications. Like what led you to each one?
So
Or I guess
obviously the
they all have
CPC, it
different
was just a
stories.
no-brainer, right? But the next one I got was dermatology. And that is because I worked in dermatology. I was a scribe for nearly 3 years, I believe. And I don't know, everything skin just, it amazed me, but I did the coding too. So I would scribe the note and then I would apply the codes to the note and then it would go out the door on a claim, like, no coders reviewed it or anything. So I got pretty good at that. And I was like, you know what, I'm just going to go ahead and get this one. And I was like, oh, this is fun. Okay, cool. But then I got a new job and I was a dermatology coder. So it got really exciting. And it's like, you know what? I think the next one I actually got was either risk adjustment or rheumatology. I can't remember off the bat. But yeah, I was just like, it kind of, built on to the next thing. I'm like, yeah, these drugs that they're using in dermatology, they're also using it in rheumatology. There's a big overlap, and all of this stuff like the COC, it's outpatient. I'm doing all of this outpatient stuff all of the time, day and night. Why not just get it? And then, that the job that I'm talking about where I did dermatology coding, there was a large billing component to it. And there was also auditing. So it's like I had to work the follow-ups on teams. So I went ahead and got the billing. And then the auditing, we had to audit each other. We had to audit other audits. We had to audit providers and whatnot. So why not just get that? It's dedication, man. It's dedication.
Oh yeah. Well, it sounds like you love to study and you love that whole learning education process.
I do. And but the best thing about coding, it changes every year. So there's always, like, even if you stop where you're at, you still have to keep learning. So that's the great thing about with coding.
That's an interesting point that maybe a new coder or a student or someone thinking about coming into the industry may not know that
Right.
you don't stop with what you're studying for the certification exam. It continues forever.
Right. And I see that all the time because I talk to a lot of newbies. I'm involved with the local chapter a lot, and they come into it and they don't realize A, you have to pay membership dues, and B, you have to get CEUs. And it doesn't matter really what field, what branch of healthcare you go into, that's going to be the case. If you get some kind of credential, you're going to have to continue your education and you're going to have to adjust as things change, like, laws change, compliance stuff changes, the codes change. Sometimes it's from day to day, like with COVID, they couldn't make up their minds with the coding stuff. But yeah, so if you don't like having to adjust to change and learning new things, coding wouldn't be a great career for someone. And reading, oh my gosh, reading. If you don't like to read, don't become a coder, because we are like medical proofreaders in some sense.
What's awesome about talking to you, Rita, is some would say 7 years, you're still relatively new to the industry,
right?
But your passion and your desire to know, it's all feels so natural, and it just feels like it is the perfect fit for you.
Oh yeah, I totally love it. And the good thing for me was when I enrolled in college, I came in 2015. I-10 hadn't come out yet, but it was coming out. So I was the first group of students to learn the ICD-10. And a lot of my course material was still based on 9. So I went back and I taught myself that. I'm like, you know what? I see people are going back and they're looking at claims from 6 years ago. I think I might need to know this if I want to get a job. It's not going to be enough to put on my application. Hey, I have a degree and I know ICD-10, because I might not need the ICD-10 yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had an advantage for that.
Well, you're doing all of this and you have a young family. How did you manage it all, and how do you manage it all?
I don't have an answer for that. Some people say I'm a superhero. I don't know. Coffee, lots of coffee. Oh, wait. Let me turn it around so you guys can see it. These things are great. You can get them on, yeah, you know where to get them.
Yeah.
I have like 2 of them and one of the small black ones. I'm addicted to coffee. So yeah, the thing about coders and coffee is totally true. If it's not coffee, it's tea, it's Coke. You guys know what I'm talking about.
Well, you have an awesome
That's the secret.
demeanor. Yeah, and you seem relaxed and you love what you do, and that's just awesome to see. Real quick, let's jump over into the Certified Rheumatology Code, or the
Oh,
CHRC.
yay.
So how did you, why did you choose to get the certification?
So I am really, really nerdy about medical stuff. And like I said, the dermatology kind of sparked that. But additionally, I have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and there's an overlap there with a lot of rheumatologic stuff. So I already knew about a lot of these things. It was just like stuff I already knew about. It was just easy for me, and I like it. So, I mean, if someone doesn't like a specialty, I wouldn't recommend certifying in it. It's gonna make you sleep, or hate your life. But yeah, I really like rheumatology. I don't have a certification that I don't have an interest in.
So were you, it doesn't sound like you were necessarily working in rheumatology and exploring those codes professionally at that time.
Oh no, I was working multi-specialty. So I was in, oh my gosh. Oh, let's see if I can remember. So I did adult and pediatric. I did St. Jude, rheumatology, dermatology, gastroenterology, nephrology, endocrinology, eye care. I did neonatology. Uh, Goodness gracious, there's like 20 things on the list, and I was doing it all in my one job. Yeah, it was
Wow.
multi-specialty. It's a health system, and there's only a handful of people in the department, so all of us had a lot of hats to wear. So yeah, I totally did work with rheumatology. It just wasn't like 100% that's my job. I'm a room
Yeah.
coder. You can do so much with your certifications, guys.
Well, so how did the CHRC help you with the rheumatology codes that came through?
I'm going to be completely honest here, those injections. So a lot of rheumatologists are injection happy. They like to give joint injections, and that's something that's really tricky to build. Learning the material for the study prep material, it really, I don't know, it just helped me so much just do my job, not even just getting the certification, but going through those mock cases. It just really helped me do my job. And especially on the back end, when you're working a follow-up claim that someone else did and it got denied, those reasons will stick right out at you just looking at the coding if you're familiar with, the nuances with rheumatology coding. So that was really helpful right there, just getting that extra knowledge.
Awesome. Awesome. It's great to see how, each certification that you have has a purpose and helps you in your career.
Right. And you know what? If anything else, I'm an educator. So practice what you preach. If I'm going to say, hey, yeah, this is such a great certification, and we can achieve it this way. If I don't have it, how much are my words worth?
Yeah, that's very true. Very true. Well, let's talk about students and your student experience and preparing for the CPC exam. I think you're in the Facebook group, the AAPC Facebook group.
Oh yeah, I'm a lurker.
Well, and
I
you see
lurk
all,
more than talk.
well, you see all of the chat, like, there are a lot of common questions and a lot of students who are nervous and eager for their upcoming exams. What advice would you give to them as they prepare for their CPC certification exam?
All right, so I have some really good advice here. Know your guidelines, know them, and if you need a printed copy, that's a good option too. You can print them separately, tab those guidelines. Know your guidelines, marry them if you have to, kiss them, love them. All right, your book navigation. Okay, it's not enough, guys, to just kind of know how to use the tabular. You need to know where everything's at in your book. I'm not talking about where to find a specific code out of your brain. I'm talking about A, the guidelines. B, you need to know how to look up things in your table of contents. That's really good. Your neoplasms table, that's useful. Your drugs and chemicals, your tabular, obviously, and your appendices. Those are like my best friend. Yeah, and don't forget, you can make notes in your books and tab them any way you want to. Just, nothing like stapled in, and no test questions, no answers, obvious stuff. Your books are your best friends in your exam and throughout your coding career. love your books, know your books. They are your right hand, they are your left hand, they're your feet, your eyeballs, and your ears. So that's advice number one.
Okay.
Number three is food. Food. Yeah, have sex, have food, have caffeine, and get rest. Like get rest the night before. Sure, you can study. A lot of people say don't study the night before, but you totally can. If that works best for you, do it. Do what works best for you. You don't have to listen to everybody on YouTube. If you know that you can retain the information or do things more efficiently in a way that works good for you, apply those techniques. So yeah, the guidelines, the book navigation, rest, and snacks. That's my only advice for anybody.
Okay.
And I freak people out with the snacks, Alex. Like I show up and my whole table snacks.
You got this a little buffet of snacks for yourself?
Yes, I have this whole like I'm going to my exam, this kit, and I'm like I roll up in there with my bags and my food. I lay out my stuff, got my ID table, my little stack pencils and little whatever I'm using, magnifying ruler. Those are good, guys. Magnifying glasses because the words are small. Little, I have a wind up watch. Like I'm creeping people, just ready to go. But
you got a system.
Be prepared. Not just it's going to help you, but just knowing that you're prepared makes you feel better. It like those exam jitters, the preparedness will like nip them.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing.
That's awesome. What great advice. Thank you so much for sharing the
you're welcome.
The Rita protocol for exam.
Pretty much. Yeah. Maybe I should write a book like how not to be nervous for your exam and how to do better.
That's right. Well, so let's talk about the next step, finding that first job, because that is a common question in the group as well. You see that.
Awesome. Yeah. Great question.
What was it like for you? Let's talk about your experience, because you mentioned you're thinking about going into the clinical side, but that didn't work out. How did you get that first job? Oh, you did talk about Scribe as well.
Yes, that's how I got my foot in the door.
Okay, so how did you get that Scribe job? Had you worked in healthcare prior to that?
So prior to that was in Egypt. I was helping a doctor there do things, make things more efficient. It had a lot of duties actually, but I just, it had more to do with paper records, like trying to deal with a monster pile of paper records. And so I kind of looked up, what we were doing here in America besides buying Epic system, something that I could do on a budget, and it went from there and just kind of, I had a group following me kind of thing. But yeah, then I came back here and I worked kind of remotely, doing some advice, doing research here and there for my little friend over there. But yeah, so college, that was pretty much it.
Okay.
So my first job though, trying to find a job, listen, Alex, I had a degree, I had a CPCA, I had a CCA. No, like it's brutal. Some people can find a job right off the bat, but for the noobs, it is brutal. That conundrum about, 2 years experience, how do you get it if nobody lets you get it?
Yep.
The answer is look outside of the box. Apply to be a scribe. You'll learn great documentation concepts being a scribe. And I mean, I'm talking about HCC, CDEI. You will learn it all being a scribe. You'll learn how to build a SOAP note, use EMRs, whatever. There's also, you could be a biller, or you could work in patient accounts, calling people, hey, you owe $23. Could you make your payment today? Anything, front desk. You could work in the lab, be a requisition person. Look outside the box. That's my best advice right there, because you can get your foot, even if you end up working for a different company later, just being able to put that on your resume is very helpful. Some kind of healthcare experience is relevant. You've had your hands in a computer and an electronic medical record system. You've got some kind of experience with the lingo. You're good to go. You need less training. Another thing is, shoot, my mind just went bloop. I'll think of it and come back to it. Yeah.
Did you know anything about Scribes prior to working as a scribe?
I knew what a transcriptionist was. Now it's very similar, and I mean, they use the term interchangeably now because, transcription is kind of an older field, but I knew what a transcriptionist was. I did not know what a scribe was. And when I found out that you're actually on your feet in the clinic, shadowing a provider, documenting real time, I was just like, woohoo, that's for me.
that kind of put you close to the clinical side.
It did. So I got to see things, right up close and personal. I was there watching procedures and whatnot. I was in every patient, encounter in the exam room. So I was the eyes and the ears of the provider on the computer. Everything she would say, or maybe she would touch something, I would document that, and then she would go in and obviously edit it if she needed to. That being said, that is a great way to learn your medical terminology. Yeah, you kind of can't be a scribe if you can't document like a doctor.
Okay, awesome. Well, AAPC, it has launched a Scribe certification.
I know. I've been waiting like 3 years. I'm on the wait list, and you guys' inbox has probably got like 10 emails for me.
Oh, it's you who's sending all of those Scribe emails, huh?
Yes, it's me.
That's right.
It's me.
Well, awesome. So it's exciting to hear how you use that to help you move your career forward. Now,
yeah, definitely.
Let's talk about that first coding job. How did you? So you had worked as a scribe, and then how did you lead into that coding job?
So the scribe thing kind of it was great for a long time, but it's not something that you really want to stay in unless you want to be a professional scribe. I did not. Obviously, I wanted to be a coder. It was my foot in the door job. So I started applying for jobs, and one day I got a phone call. Like out of the blue, must have been like 50 applications I put in, and I got a phone call. So I got my first coding job, and I just kind of moved up the ranks in that coding job. I was there almost 4 years. Yeah, 4 years before I took a part-time, and then I ended up getting hired full-time as an auditor with part-time, and now I'm with them.
Well, so that's interesting to me. So when you got your first coding job, you're there for 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a good amount of time, and you haven't had many jobs.
No.
Okay. Wow.
And that's another thing. That's more advice, unless you have just a terrible place that you can't tolerate, stick it out, because your resume, if you have a new job every 3 to 6 months, or even every year, it looks like you're flaky. So if things are somewhat beneficial to you, still stick it out. Really stick it out. I'm not saying to put up with toxicity or anything, or damage your mental well-being, but yeah.
You
gotta weigh the benefits.
So how did you know you'd like auditing?
I was already doing it at the health system I was at, so I wasn't just a coder. It was like a full stop shop coding role where you did pretty much everything, including education. So I already knew I liked it because that was a big percentage of my job, and there towards the end it was mostly what I did. So I already knew I loved it. Now I'm actually auditing coders, so it's a little bit different than auditing just providers mostly. At the old place, I would audit colleagues too, but not so much. It would be providers and then educating providers. Whereas when you audit a coder, it's a whole different type of finesse needed, because a coder, we're the experts. We have the credentials here. We've been trained for this. We sat for 5-hour 40-minute exam.
Yeah.
They don't take sometimes they don't take the feedback as nicely as you'd like, but it's understandable. But it's all in good faith. An auditor is just with a coder is like with a provider. We're not there to be your enemy. We're there to help you.
Okay. And is this it? Are you like, I am an auditor, this is how I want to ride out the rest of my career, or are there other things that you may want to explore?
I am glad you asked. So auditing is just, to be honest, and I hope my employer doesn't hate me for this, it's a way for me to make money right now because I want to be an educator. I'm an educator and a clinician at heart. So that's my main goal with coding. I need to, keep my professional stuff active enough to keep my experience relevant. I don't want to be one of those instructors who hasn't seen a chart in 15 years. So I want to keep a foot in that world, whether it's full-time, part-time, whatever, but I'm an educator and that's where I'm going with it.
Okay, awesome. Well,
I want to teach for certifications.
That's cool. That is so great to hear. Now, so I see all of your certifications. We talked about that. And one common question that we see in the group that you have seen is CEUs. I need CEUs. And when you have that many certifications, Rita, it could seem overwhelming to earn CEUs for those specialties.
All
Tell
right,
me about how
I've
you,
got good news for you, Alex.
okay.
So first of all, AAPC is very kind and generous. Once you get so many, they kind of stop putting salt in the wounds there, so to speak. I can't tell you exactly how many I need right now because I've gotten a few recently, and I'm actually going to sit for one this Saturday. So it changes. They're I think they're prorated or something, the way it calculates. But I mean, the most you could probably ever need is 70. And that's like if you have every certification AAPC offers. The good news on those, though, like if you attend chapter meetings and AAPC sponsor CEUs, there's some of them where you can double dip. You'll get your core and your specialty. So where you would have gotten 1 or 2, you get now extra. So it's not that hard to get them. And I get, to be honest, most of my CEUs come free from AAPC. We have the quarterly webinars, we have chapter meetings, and most of them are virtual now. And I'm a big yay, support your local chapters person. So get to your meetings, guys. There's unlimited you can get in a year from that. And then Healthcare Business Monthly, you get free a year. And I just made a commercial for you guys, Alex.
That's right. That's right. Well, it sounds like, if you just choose to stay on top of it, then you're fine.
Exactly.
That problem
I think the
comes
biggest
later.
challenge that people face is they don't know how to navigate the AAPC website, where to find all of this juicy information that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, guys, and Codify. Codify is great. It is paid stuff, but you can get CEUs from that too.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Rita, thanks so much for spending some time with me and sharing your story. This has been awesome. I love your passion and your energy for the industry and for what you do. It's infectious.
Woohoo! Y'all get infected.
That's right.
There's no vaccine for Rita.
That's right. Well, would you just kind of share, do you have a final thought? What message would you share to someone who is considering this as a career? What would you tell them?
Do your research. Don't jump into or commit to or spend any money on anything until you understand fully what a medical coder is and the different things, that's a very wide term there, medical coder. There's very different roles a medical coder can do, and where, how that can expand or move upward in some organization. Like you could end up being a director or something. So do your research, see what's involved with it, out the different certifying organizations, the CEU required for that, hybrid fields like CDEI. There's so many things you can go with coding, but definitely do your research before you commit to it.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Rita. Rita, stick with me just for a minute. For those who are watching, you can listen to Rita share her story on the AAPC podcast. Just go to your favorite podcast app and search for the AAPC podcast, and you can listen to Rita as you're mowing the lawn or gardening or preparing dinner, whatever you're doing. And we'd love to hear Rita share her story there as well. And Rita, thanks so much for your time today.
I really appreciate you guys having me, and I'm so thrilled I got to talk to everyone.
Awesome.